Hey everyone. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sixpath Weeb, and I'm so excited to have you all here. Today, we're diving back into our fanfic universe with Naruko equals New-Tailed Beast, Part 3. If you've been following along, you know things are about to get even more intense and unpredictable. But, if you're new here, don't worry, I've got you covered. Before we get started, just a quick reminder, the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's jump into it. Grab your snacks, sit back, and let's dive deep into this wild world of Naruko and her new role. Ready? Let's go. Naruko took off her mask, revealing her bright, confident face. Yep, I've chosen Hinata as my apprentice, she said with a grin. The Hokage smiled warmly and replied, well, that's good. But you won't have to train her just yet. Unless you want to, of course. Naruko nodded. Her graduation is 3 years away, right? When she'll be 12. Not just her. You'll be 12 too. The Hokage added. Naruko rolled her eyes playfully. Yes, I know. I was just saying. The Hokage chuckled, shaking his head. Well, you're dismissed, Naruko. You can go. Naruko beamed, hugging her surrogate grandfather. Thanks, Oji-san. I'll see you later. And with that, she disappeared in a blur. The Hokage sighed fondly. Kids. Naruko reappeared back at her compound and quickly changed into her training gear, black pants, a snug black vest, shinobi sandals, and black fingerless gloves. She then created several clones to cook for her before heading out to train. Once she reached her usual spot in a clearing in the forest, she made more clones to assist with different tasks. After assigning them their duties, she sat down to meditate. She appeared in the meadow of her mind, where she saw Hinako and Kazuki waiting for her. Hinako stood as if expecting her, while Kazuki casually leaned against a tree. When Naruko arrived, Hinako smiled and greeted her. Good afternoon, Naruko-chan. Good morning, Hinako-ne. Naruko responded with a bright smile. Good morning, Kazu-ni, Naruko said, running up to Kazuki and giving him a friendly tackle. As usual, Kazuki chuckled and ruffled her hair, showing a warm affection. Good morning, Kit, Kazuki said, still gently messing with Naruko's hair, before turning to Hinako, who nodded. Naruko noticed the brief moment of silence and decided to speak up. So, what's going on? Kazuki let out a soft chuckle. Well, Kit, Hinako-sama and I have realized you're already quite strong, so we'd like you to begin the awakening ritual. Right now? Naruko asked, a bit confused. No, not right this moment. The awakening will happen in its own time. But to prepare, we need you to complete the first stage. First stage? Naruko asked, still unsure. Yes, Kit. The first stage will remove all the limitations on your body, meaning that the illusion placed on you will fade away. Naruko nodded, looking to Hinako for further explanation. Hinako continued, remember the illusion I placed on you when we first met? The one that gave you the whisker marks? Naruko blinked. Oh, right. Okay. When the awakening begins, it will unlock your celestial angelic blood, along with your demonic blood as well. Hinako explained. This will give you the full power and abilities of both a celestial angel and a demon, along with the gift of the elementals. Naruko nodded, trying to process the information. I understand. But can you explain more about the awakening? Hinako took a deep breath before continuing. Through the awakening, you will be tested to see if you're truly worthy of your celestial angelic blood. Your physical body will fall unconscious during this test, and if you succeed, you will unlock your full potential as a celestial angel. However, if you fail, you will not survive. Naruko took in the gravity of the situation, her expression serious. With great power comes great responsibility. If I'm found unworthy, then I should accept the consequences. But I will do my best and make everyone proud. However, Kit, because the seal your father placed on you converts my chakra into something usable for you, you've inherited the title of a demon. But since you are also a celestial angel, your blood is still that of an angel. So, you have both demon and celestial powers, which makes this awakening even more difficult. Naruko nodded, determined. I'll do it. I won't back down. Hinako smiled gently. We trust in you, Naruko. Meanwhile, in the classroom, Hinata listened intently to the guest speaker, who was Anko. Let me demonstrate some interrogation techniques, Anko said casually, munching on a piece of dengo. Iruka immediately shook his head and gestured frantically. And no, thank you, Anko-san. I don't think that's a good idea. Well, Iruka-sensei here has decided to volunteer. Isn't that great? Anko said mischievously, tossing her dengo onto the floor as she spoke. Now, watch this, kiddos. And no, Anko. No, Iruka exclaimed, narrowly dodging the snakes that appeared from Anko's sleeves. The class watched in awe, but Hinata remained unaffected. She calmly took notes as Iruka tried to avoid Anko's antics. Later that evening, Naruko was still busy training at her compound. She had clones working on various tasks, including reviewing chakra exercises, reading through books, cleaning the compound, tending to the garden, and perfecting techniques. The original Naruko was meditating, reflecting on her accomplishments. Her chakra control had nearly reached perfection, which would only improve further after the awakening ritual. She had mastered many exercises like water walking, tree walking, leaf concentration, and weapon balancing. Her control over the elements was also unparalleled, thanks to her connection to the elemental spirits. Naruko had worked diligently on mastering various elemental techniques. With her unique omni-elemental affinity, she could easily perform and perfect exercises related to fire, water, wind, earth, ice, and lightning. Each exercise pushed her boundaries, and she was able to summon the elemental spirits to aid her whenever necessary. Alongside her mastery of chakra, Naruko was skilled in hand-to-hand combat and kenjutsu, particularly with a scythe. She had perfected many combat styles, such as the Tripudio de Uranicus Angelus, Dance of the Heavenly Angel, which incorporated flexibility, precision, and strength. Naruko used her wings during this style to enhance her evasive and blocking capabilities, making it an incredibly formidable technique. Her training was relentless, but Naruko was determined to achieve her full potential and one day prove herself as a powerful celestial angel, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Donum de Luna, Gift of the Moon, was a combat style created by Naruko, originally designed to complement her scythe. Over time, Naruko developed it into both a hand-to-hand style and a scythe-based technique. The style was inspired by the cycles of the moon, with more than 9 distinct stances, each slightly different. To master it, Naruko needed flexibility, speed, and agility. When using hand-to-hand combat, the style was intended to either overpower or paralyze an opponent. With the scythe, each stance required a specific swing, such as the crescent stance, where Naruko would move the scythe in a crescent shape. In the new and full moon stances, Naruko would execute fast and powerful combinations. Additionally, Naruko could infuse elemental energy into the style, using lightning to stun, wind to cut, and fire to burn. Naruko had also adapted other martial arts styles, such as the Northern Shaolin style, the Praying Mantis style, and the Dance of the Leaf, making them resistant to copying by the Sharingan. The Northern Shaolin style focused on long-range techniques, quick advances and retreats, wide stances, and leaping attacks, combining agility with aggressive offense. Naruko's mastery of this style allowed her to perform it fluidly and instinctively, with every movement carrying both grace and precision. The Praying Mantis style emphasized close-quarters combat, with short, powerful movements. It required knowledge of human anatomy and incorporated both internal and external techniques. The style's emphasis on hand and arm techniques, with minimal use of low kicks, made it effective in close-range battles. Naruko perfected this style, ensuring her hands were her primary means of attack and defense, while her footwork kept her balanced and protected. Another style that Naruko created was the Tripudio de Nex Angelus, Dance of the Death Angel, which she used with her scythe. Similar to the Tripudio de Uranicus Angelus, Dance of the Heavenly Angel, it required the use of a scythe and relied heavily on powerful strikes and elemental manipulation. Naruko trained rigorously to master this style, despite its lack of hand-to-hand combat. Her wings played a significant role in this style, both as a shield and as a source of attack. Naruko could create gusts of wind with a simple flap of her wings, and when engaging in this style, her wings would turn black, infused with dark energy. Naruko's control over her abilities was impressive, particularly in the area of medical techniques. Though she was not yet on Tsunade's level, Naruko had mastered healing techniques for first, second, and third-degree burns, bone damage, infections, and other common injuries. Her true strength, however, lay in her mastery of genjutsu, or illusion techniques. Trained by Kazuki, a master of demonic illusions, as well as by Danzo and from ancient scrolls, Naruko had perfected this art. Through her mother's bloodline, Naruko unlocked several abilities. She could summon and control her wings at will, though she did so cautiously to avoid injury. Her connection to her spirit bond allowed her to communicate with animals, a skill she honed further, but her omnigualism would not awaken fully until her awakening ritual. 2 days had passed since Naruko's conversation with Hinako about the awakening ritual, and now Naruko was in the meditation room of her home, nestled high in a great tree. Suddenly, the seals to the gate alerted her of a visitor. Wanting to be polite, Naruko left her meditation and went to the gate, choosing to greet her guest in person rather than sending a clone. Upon reaching the door, she was surprised to see Hyuga Hinata, someone she hadn't seen in over a month. "Hello, Naruko Ne-san. I hope you don't mind if I come in for a visit?" Hinata asked. Naruko smiled warmly. Hinata had grown from a shy, timid girl into a strong and determined woman. She was also known to be quite intimidating when angered, as Hyashi had told Naruko. "Of course, I don't mind. It's been about a month since we last saw each other, right?" Naruko replied. Hinata nodded, but before she could speak further, Naruko took her hand and gently led her inside. Come in," Naruko said with a smile. Hinata smiled back and followed, feeling comfortable in Naruko's presence. After her ordeal with the Kumo ambassador, Hinata had started calling Naruko Ne-san, seeing her as an older sister, a bond Naruko had wholeheartedly accepted. Naruko had played a significant role in ensuring that Hinata wasn't kidnapped during the incident. As a result, Naruko had earned the gratitude of Hinata, and the Kumo ambassador had been imprisoned for the attempted abduction. As they entered the Namikaze and Uzumaki compound, Hinata marveled at its beauty, just as others did, including the Hokage and even Danzo. Naruko chuckled softly. "Everyone reacts the same way when they first see it," she said. "Even the Hokage and Danzo." She led Hinata to the dining room, situated high in the tree, and pulled out a chair for her. "Please, have a seat," Naruko offered kindly. Hinata took a seat, smiling and thanking Naruko with a polite arigato. Soon, a few clones entered the room, bringing tea and sandwiches to the table. Naruko began to eat and graciously offered some food to Hinata, who accepted it with a smile. As they ate, they chatted, laughing and sharing stories, enjoying each other's company in the peaceful atmosphere. Hinata smiled and gave her sister Naruko a gentle kiss on the cheek. Naruko smiled warmly before speaking. "I'll see you soon, Hinata-chan." "Hi, I'll see you again soon, Naruko Ne-chan. Remember not to overwork yourself." Naruko rolled her eyes, which earned her a light tap on the back of her head from Hinata. Gomen. Don't worry about me, Hinata-chan. I'll be fine." Hinata smiled once more, but then suddenly adopted a serious expression, with fire dancing in the background. Naruko widened her eyes, taken aback by Hinata's sudden shift in demeanor, and fell silent. "Now listen, Naruko Ne-chan. You'd better not push yourself too hard," Hinata said firmly, her serious look unwavering, with flames flickering in the background. Naruko quickly nodded and replied, "Why yes, Hinata-chan." Hinata then softened, her face lighting up with a smile as she kissed Naruko on the cheek again. "Goodbye, Naruko Ne-chan. Let me know if you need any help. With anything." "Of course, Naruko Ne-chan." Just as Hinata turned to leave, Naruko suddenly hunched over, a pained expression crossing her face. Hinata immediately noticed and dropped to her knees beside Naruko in concern. "Are you okay, Naruko Ne-chan? What's wrong?" Naruko winced in pain and grunted softly. "It's happening too soon." Then, with the pain intensifying, Naruko fainted, the last thing she heard being Hinata's worried voice calling out her name. In a grand citadel located at the heart of Eden, the Council of Angels convened, their voices filled with purpose as they discussed the sudden surge of angelic energy. Seated around a large circular table, the council consisted of angels of both genders, all dressed in long white tunics, fastened by golden clips. Their footwear was simple sandals, and although they appeared youthful, their wisdom radiated clearly. The conversation grew serious as they deliberated on the fate of the celestial. "It seems that the last celestial has begun the awakening ritual," one angel remarked. "Yes, it's true," another responded. "But I wonder if she will succeed." "Do not doubt her. We must have faith," said a third angel firmly. "Indeed, I agree," a female angel added. "We must remain hopeful. For now, we can only hope she will pass the trial. Once she does, we can then bring her guardian. But only after her training is completed," a voice reminded. "We cannot send her before she is fully prepared." "Yes, of course. So, how is her training progressing?" An angel glanced at a colleague seated nearby. The angel addressed nodded and replied, "Her training is going well. I believe it will only be a few more days until she finishes." An older angel, his voice calm yet deep with authority, spoke next. That is excellent news. I trust that during the Celestial's awakening, someone will be there to watch over her. A younger female angel smiled and added, yes, it seems that little Naruko already has someone by her side. She gestured to a large screen that flickered to life in the center of the table, displaying an image of a young girl tending to a person lying in a bed. The angels gazed upon the scene with soft smiles. In the image, Hinata was carefully placing a cool cloth on the forehead of her older brother, who appeared to be in discomfort. Her face reflected concern as she moved quickly, applying all the first aid knowledge she had. She had rushed him to safety after his sudden fainting spell and was now tending to his fever, trying to ease his pain. Back in Eden, another young girl was diligently practicing swordsmanship. Naruko, having sensed the surge of angelic energy, had immediately redoubled her efforts and training. Her goal was clear: to complete her training and assume her role as a guardian. She believed in her mission wholeheartedly, and with unwavering determination, she danced gracefully and powerfully with her sword, each movement reflecting years of dedication. Meanwhile, Naruko, after having fainted earlier, found herself standing on a floating stone circle. It was a surreal sight, as the circle seemed to hover in midair with no visible support. She closed her eyes and concentrated, trying to understand what was happening. What is this? She thought. It is the awakening ritual. You are about to begin the trial, a familiar voice replied in her mind. So it's true? Naruko asked inwardly. Yes, it is true. Prepare yourself, this will not be an easy trial. Naruko took a deep breath, filled with resolve. She thanked the voice in her mind, the source of guidance, and opened her eyes, determination blazing within them. After finishing her training, Tokiko took a moment to freshen up. Once she was clean, she dressed in a pristine white kimono with long sleeves, adorned with a red collar that stopped just above her knees. A light pink belt was tied around her waist, reaching the back of her knees, and pink, fingerless gloves extended just below her elbows. Her ensemble was completed with dark red shorts, pink shinobi sandals, and a red ribbon tied around her right ankle. Her long golden hair was gathered in a neat bun, held together by a red ribbon. A delicate earring with a moon-shaped charm dangled from her right ear. Tokiko gazed at her reflection in the mirror with a satisfied smile. She was proud of the results of her constant training. Her figure was well maintained, her skin a healthy tone, and her blue eyes sparkled with vitality. Standing at 5 feet tall, she felt confident in her appearance and abilities. Her training had been rigorous, but it had brought her to mastery in both swordsmanship and illusion. Her sword, Mucro de Putus Curator, Sword of the Pure Guardian, had been passed down through generations, a gift from her mother. The sword's blade was a gleaming silver, flawless and unmarked by time, and its hilt was adorned with a black finish and a pink ribbon. The sword was not only a weapon but also a symbol of her lineage, a constant reminder of her responsibility. Despite its age, the blade was said to possess a unique quality: it could repair itself if damaged, making it both unbreakable and timeless. Her preparations were complete, and with her final step in training, she felt ready to fulfill her duty. Inscribed on the sword were the words, in kanji, "Spirit is the sword, and experience is the sharpening stone." The scabbard, a beautiful piece, was adorned with the wings of a cherubim and the kanji for its name, Junsui na Hogosha no Ken. It shimmered with a platinum silver hue. Naruko smiled at the thought of her sword, a gift she had received when she first began her training in swordsmanship. After years of dedication and hard work, she had finally mastered the use of her sword and the unique style passed down through her family. Now, the moment had arrived. Holding the sword's case in her right hand, she smiled, thinking, it is finally time. Suddenly, a pair of large, pure white angel wings sprouted from her back. With a gentle flap, she soared into the sky. Naruko stood tall, her eyes glowing with determination as she balanced atop a floating stone. She felt an overwhelming sense of vitality, the pain she had once endured completely gone. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt truly alive. Suddenly, mysterious figures materialized before her, and Naruko's senses sharpened. The figures gradually took form, and Naruko's eyes widened in surprise at the unexpected appearance of these beings. Meanwhile, Tokiko fought valiantly, her sword clashing against the attacks of demons that had appeared before her. She was ready to take flight, but just as she was about to leave, more demons arrived, intent on stopping her. Her sword flashed as she blocked their strikes, searching for an opening to strike. Who are these demons? Tokiko thought, her mind racing as she assessed her opponents. The demons were grotesque, with their bodies stitched together from decaying flesh. Their faces were nightmarish, and they oozed a toxic yellow fluid from their mouths. There were 3 of them in total. As Tokiko dodged a claw strike from one of the demons, she prepared herself for what was to come. Illusions won't work on them, and I don't want to find out what that yellow fluid is, Tokiko muttered to herself. Looks like I'll have to rely on my sword. With a focused expression, she raised her sword high and chanted, Sucitatio. Mucro deputus curator. As she spoke, the sword began to glow, and holy light erupted, enveloping the demons. Their screeches filled the air as the light caused them immense pain. When the light faded, Tokiko stood in her battle attire, her sword now glowing with holy energy. She closed her eyes for a brief moment before vanishing from her spot, appearing next to a demon in the blink of an eye. With a single, precise swing, she decapitated the first demon, and before the others could react, she repeated the action, swiftly eliminating them all. Landing gracefully on the ground, she knelt briefly before rising, her expression serene but resolute. With a flick of her wrist, she summoned holy flames to purify the demon corpses, ensuring they left no trace behind. With her mission complete, Tokiko summoned her wings and took to the skies once again, continuing her journey with unwavering resolve. Naruko was in the midst of an intense hand-to-hand battle with a powerful opponent. Who was this formidable adversary, you ask? Well, you'll just have to wait and see. Naruko grunted as she was kicked back but managed to maintain her balance, staying within the still floating stone circle. She quickly rose to her feet, narrowly avoiding a small crack that had appeared where she had just been knocked. Determined not to spend the entire battle on the defensive, Naruko rushed at her opponent and delivered a powerful roundhouse kick, which was blocked. However, when her opponent gripped her foot, Naruko spun gracefully and landed a counter kick to her opponent's face. The force and speed of the kick pushed her opponent back. Her opponent swiftly regained their stance, showing no sign of having been affected by the strike. Naruko's eyes widened as she observed the emotionless expression on her adversary's face. Undeterred, Naruko steeled herself and, with equal determination, sprang into action, adopting a stoic expression. She backflipped into the air, extending her foot to strike. Her opponent deftly dodged, but the heel of Naruko's foot hit the ground with precision. Naruko then transitioned into the praying mantis style, her hands hanging loosely by her sides as she lifted one arm while bending one leg in front of her. Her right foot was firmly planted on the ground, with her left leg slightly bent to maintain balance. In a display of speed, Naruko swiftly lifted her bent right leg and kicked her opponent in the stomach. However, she wasn't done yet. Using the palm of her right hand, Naruko pushed her opponent's chin upward and, with a shout, executed a mantis uppercut. The force of the strike launched her opponent into the air, and they landed with a thud on the stone edge. Naruko wasted no time, propelling herself from her left foot and delivering a palm strike directly aimed at her opponent's chest. But before the strike could connect, her opponent grabbed her outstretched arm and flung her across the stone circle. Naruko winced in pain as she hit the ground. As she prepared to rise, her opponent struck her back with a palm strike, slamming her forcefully into the stone, causing a sharp jolt of pain. Naruko rolled to the side just in time to avoid another palm strike, which left a crack on the hard surface where she had just been. Her inner voice spoke urgently, "Be careful, Naruko. This opponent is fast." Naruko replied mentally. "You can do this. I'm healing you as quickly as I can." Naruko gritted her teeth. "Thank you, Kazuni." Naruko quickly dodged as her opponent unleashed a flurry of low kicks and palm strikes. However, one of the attacks landed, pushing Naruko back and causing her to grunt in pain. That really hurt, she thought. Regaining her composure, Naruko adopted the praying mantis position once more and charged toward her opponent. She began a rapid series of strikes while shouting, "Hidden palm combo." Her hands blurred as she struck vital points on her opponent's body. The combo, a swift series of palm strikes to key points, ended with a powerful blow to the opponent's stomach, paralyzing the nerves and causing intense pain. Her opponent staggered back, coughing violently. Despite the relentless assault, Naruko continued her attack, striking with a palm to her opponent's back while they were on their knees. She added more energy into the strike, shouting, "Double palm." Her opponent cried out in pain as Naruko threw them out of the stone circle, watching as they fell to the ground below. Naruko panted heavily, communicating with her inner voice. "How did I do?" "Not bad. Though you could have finished faster if you hadn't underestimated your opponent." "Sorry. Be more careful next time. You nearly fell off the circle." Naruko sighed, listening as her inner voice continued its gentle lecture. Sorry. Next time, I won't underestimate my opponents, especially myself." Meanwhile, Hinako sighed, observing Naruko finish the first test, a hand-to-hand battle against herself. It was a difficult trial that, though completed by many angels, had caused some to fail. Beyond the physical challenge, it was also a test of humility. It reminded one never to underestimate anyone, including oneself. Pride is the downfall of many, and only through humility will you rise. Now, it was time for the next test, one far more challenging than the first. Tokiko stood in a battle stance as she faced a new group of demons, the 15th group to be precise. Why do these demons keep appearing? She thought, quickly blocking one of their attacks. With a swift spin, she dispatched the demon holding a sword and then proceeded to deal with the others. You won't stop me. Tokiko thought as she soared into the sky for yet another round of battle. Naruko then heard the deep, booming voice that had spoken to her at the start of her trial. Well done, Celestial Angel, for completing the first test, a physical battle with yourself. Now, prepare for the next test, which will be far more difficult than the last. Beware, and be ready, Celestial Angel. As the voice faded, Naruko's next opponent appeared before her, none other than her mother. Naruko grunted as she parried the scythes with her mother, who was the opponent for her second test. The exchange began softly, but Naruko knew her mother was serious about the challenge. When her mother surprised her with a swift punch, Naruko instinctively blocked it but winced from the strength of the blow. It's my mom, Naruko thought. The two engaged in a series of strikes. Her mother's moves were strong, almost overwhelming, while Naruko's were faster and more precise. After a while, they reached a stalemate and decided to test each other's skill with weapons. Kushina then revealed her original scythe, Falx de Nex Angelus, Scythe of the Death Angel, which left Naruko puzzled, as she thought she was the one with the weapon. Don't I have that with me? Naruko then activated a storage seal inscribed on her palm, and the very same scythe appeared in her hand. She gazed at the weapon in her hand and then glanced at her mother's, trying to understand what was happening. Kushina sighed, noticing her daughter's confused expression. Naruko. She called, catching Naruko's attention despite her confusion. Kushina continued, her voice calm but firm, you're undergoing your awakening ritual now, so don't worry if things feel strange. Anything is possible here. Her voice softened as she remembered her own awakening ritual, a moment of confusion she would never forget. I guess it's true. Like mother, like daughter, Kushina mused. With a more serious tone, Kushina declared, now, let's continue the test. Without warning, she moved with extraordinary speed and struck down toward Naruko. Naruko reacted quickly, blocking the attack, but once again, her mother's strength nearly overwhelmed her. Almost, but not quite. Naruko gathered her strength and returned the strike. The two began a graceful, intense exchange of blows. Naruko utilized her own style, Donum de Luna, Gift of the Moon, while her mother fought with her own unique technique, which, surprisingly, mirrored Naruko's style in many ways. Despite being younger and smaller than her mother, Naruko's natural talent and the angelic blood in her veins helped her to excel. The enhancements from Kyuubi's chakra, sealed in her body as a child, had made her stronger and faster than most children her age, far more capable of handling such rigorous training. While their weapons clashed, Naruko reflected on the years of training that had brought her here. I won't let all my hard work be for nothing. With a sudden burst of energy, Naruko executed a powerful move, calling out, Wind Blade. A sharp gust of wind formed around her, and blades of air shot from her hand. She quickly moved back toward her mother's position, swinging her scythe downward and adding more power to her strike by invoking Wind Aura. The wind surrounded her weapon, increasing the speed and cutting force. Kushina managed to block the attacks, but the added power and speed of Naruko's wind-enhanced strike were almost too much to counter without exhausting herself. As their battle continued, Naruko's strikes became faster and more precise, forcing her mother to go on the defensive. The sky above them shifted, turning into a dark night with a crescent moon shining brightly. Naruko took a deep breath and, with her eyes closed for a moment, prepared for the next phase of the battle. She opened her eyes and spoke, Tripudio de Luna, Primoris Crescent, Dance of the Moon, First Crescent. With that, she launched herself at her mother, delivering a flurry of strikes, each faster than the last. Kushina managed to dodge the initial attacks, but the speed and precision of Naruko's movements quickly overwhelmed her. Naruko then crouched, using the blunt end of her scythe to hit her mother gently under the chin, lifting her into the air. With a quick motion, Naruko extended her palm and shouted, Valde Efragoper, Anelo de Ondine, Great Breakthrough, Breath of the Ondine. Wind surrounded her mother, immobilizing her and lifting her into the air. As the wind intensified, sharp blades formed from it, attacking Kushina. Naruko's scythe glowed brightly as she prepared her final move. With both hands on her weapon, she unleashed a silver crescent-shaped attack, striking Kushina. The attack left a glowing, crescent-shaped scar on her mother's side. Kushina cried out, but the wound quickly began to heal, much to Naruko's amazement. The scar remained, but the injury was gone. How did she heal so fast? Naruko wondered aloud, her gaze fixed on her mother. Kushina, sensing her daughter's surprise, smiled softly. We Death Angels have a powerful healing ability, one of the strongest. Only the most severe wounds are beyond our reach. Naruko nodded in understanding, then prepared herself for whatever her mother had planned next. Kushina, still panting slightly, steadied herself and said, "All right, time for the final stage. Are you ready, Naruko?" Naruko tilted her head in confusion. What did she mean by that? Oh. Naruko watched, wide-eyed, as black wings slowly unfurled from her mother's back. As Kushina lifted her head, she took on a more imposing form, preparing for the next part of the test. Her red hair now had several black strands that blended harmoniously together, and her eyes had turned a deep shade of red. Instead of looking menacing, her eyes radiated purity, giving her an almost angelic presence. The dark black wings on her back stirred to life, and Kushina stretched them out, as though awakening from a long slumber. Kushina turned to Naruko, waiting expectantly. Naruko, after a brief moment of contemplation, finally understood her mother's intention and brought out her own wings. Though Naruko had not yet fully awakened, her eyes remained unchanged, and her golden blonde hair stayed the same. The only visible sign of her transformation was the pure white wings that sprouted from her back, which she gently flapped. Both figures held identical scythes and charged toward each other, their wings lifting them off the ground. As their scythes collided, a powerful shockwave of energy surged around them, yet neither was harmed. After each clash, they would retreat for a brief moment, then reappear at the center, once again locking their weapons in a fierce battle. The fight continued with incredible speed, only blurs and bursts of energy visible as Kushina and Naruko engaged in a fierce struggle. Eventually, both of them stopped, their energy now focused on their scythes, causing them to glow brightly. They launched themselves at each other again, moving faster than before. Kushina slowly pushed her scythe forward, her superior strength allowing her to gain ground. Naruko, though visibly struggling, pressed on with unwavering determination, slowly turning the tide in her favor. Despite her exhaustion, Naruko pushed back with newfound strength, surprising Kushina, who widened her eyes in shock. With one final burst of energy, Naruko pushed her mother's scythe away, sending Kushina stumbling backward until she fell to the ground. Naruko stood over her, the blade of her scythe resting near Kushina's throat. With a smile, Naruko spoke confidently, "I yield." Hinata continued to watch over Naruko, her worry growing as she saw the fluctuating expressions on her face. Pain, nervousness, happiness, and determination seemed to shift rapidly as Naruko struggled. Hinata couldn't understand what was going on but knew that Naruko needed help. Naruko needs assistance. But I can't leave her, Hinata thought, torn between her duty to Naruko and the need to find help. After a moment of hesitation, she made up her mind. She couldn't leave Naruko alone. She had to alert someone without abandoning her side. With trembling hands, Hinata formed the necessary hand seals and released a burst of chakra, hoping it would reach someone who could help. "Please. Someone come," she prayed silently. Kushina smiled warmly at her daughter. "I yield," she said with genuine pride. Naruko reached down and offered her hand, which Kushina gratefully accepted. Naruko helped her mother back to her feet. "You have passed this test. I am proud of you," Kushina said, her voice filled with warmth before she vanished, her final words lingering in Naruko's mind, "She is proud of me." Suddenly, a booming voice filled the air, echoing with power, "Well done, Celestial. You have passed the first test. You were willing to challenge your mother, if necessary. Now, this is the next test. A test of emotions." The voice faded, and Naruko collapsed to her knees, clutching her head in pain as she squeezed her eyes shut. The haunting voices of her past filled her mind, each one more painful than the last. "Demon. Monster. Go away. We hate you. Demon. We hate you." Naruko screamed, her pain echoing in the air. Hinako watched helplessly, a tear falling from her eye as she saw Naruko curled up, overwhelmed by the anguish of her past. "The next trial," she whispered softly, "is to face all the pain you've felt before. But this time, all at once." Naruko's screams of torment filled the air as she struggled to endure the overwhelming emotions. Naruko screamed and writhed in pain as each repressed memory, Each buried moment from her past resurfaced once again. What Naruko thought she would never experience again, she found to be mistaken. Every lie, betrayal, abandonment, and hardship weighed heavily in her mind. She continued to cry out, pleading for the pain to stop, but it was relentless. Monster. Failure. Nobody cares about you. Go away. Naruko collapsed in exhaustion, her mind overwhelmed by the sudden flood of painful memories. Her mindscape shifted from a peaceful meadow back to a cold, dark place, a murky, oppressive sewer. Where am I? What happened? Naruko whispered to herself, looking around in confusion. What's going on here? The pain in her head had subsided, but she had no idea where she was. Wasn't this the same place I used to be? Kit. Are you all right? A voice called out. Naruko's eyes widened in surprise as she frantically searched for the source of the voice, but saw no one. Kazuni. She called out, her voice echoing through the dark space. Where are you? Don't worry, Kit. I'm here, but I can't physically be with you. I'm just able to speak with you for now. Just for now? Naruko asked, bewildered. What do you mean by that? This is part of the test. I think you'll need to go through something challenging, Kazuni explained. Test? What do you mean by that? You were overwhelmed by all your repressed memories, they suddenly broke free of the blocks in your mind and flooded you all at once. But I thought I kept certain memories locked away on purpose. Yes, normally, but something caused those blocks to break. It's part of the test you're going through, Kazuni explained. Test? Naruko was still trying to piece everything together. And because of all these memories, your mindscape changed back to the way it used to be. It's the sewer again, the place where your darkness resides. But I thought I got rid of this place. You didn't exactly get rid of it. You only buried it deep down along with your fears and the dark memories that haunt you. So now, I'm in the deepest, darkest part of my own mind? Exactly. You can probably get rid of this place once and for all if you defeat the guardian that's protecting these memories. Guardian? Yes, a guardian. Your mind created a guardian to protect the repressed memories, the ones you've buried. So I just need to defeat the guardian to make all of this go away? Well, it's not that simple. Kazuni said. You see, the guardian is a personification of your darkness, the part of you that you try to ignore. What? Are you saying that the guardian is actually me? Yes, but it won't be the same as before. It's not just some mindless image of you. It's a part of you, the darker side of your mind, the side you've struggled with. So, I need to face myself, my own dark side? Yes, but it will be much more difficult this time. This will be a trial, but I believe in you, Kit. You can do it. Wait. Kazuni. The voice faded, leaving Naruko with her thoughts. Thank you, Kazuni. Naruko muttered softly, shaking her head as she paced through the dark sewer. Then, out from the shadows, a dark figure emerged. Hello there. Dash. Meanwhile, Hinata had managed to send a surge of chakra strong enough to alert nearby ninjas. They quickly arrived, and Hinata told them to inform the Hokage. The Hokage acted immediately, contacting his old comrade, Danzo, who went ahead to the Hokage's office to await the others. The Hokage and Hinata soon arrived at Naruko's house, where they brought her unconscious form to the office. In the span of moments, the Hokage activated security seals, Danzo shut the blinds, and Hinata gently laid Naruko down. Hinata, do you know what's wrong with Naruko ni? Hinata asked, gazing with concern at her brother's peaceful yet pained expression. The Hokage placed a reassuring hand on Hinata's shoulder and smiled. Don't worry, Hinata. She'll be all right. Hinata nodded, her smile softening as she returned her gaze to her brother. Danzo spoke next, explaining, Naruko's condition is tied to her bloodline, the heavenly gift of the angels. Angels? Hinata asked, wide-eyed. Yes. Naruko's clan is descended from angels, and there comes a time when they must undergo a test to prove themselves worthy of their power. The Hokage continued, picking up where Danzo left off. So, Naruko ni will be okay? Hinata's voice trembled, her heart heavy with concern. I'm not sure, Sarutobi replied with a somber tone. But all we can do now is hope, Danzo added quietly, in a rare moment of sincerity. Hinata nodded again, her smile returning as she watched over Naruko. Dash. In Naruko's mindscape, Dark Naruko, Yami Naruko, stood before her with a wide grin, his presence unsettling. So, you must be my darkness, right? Naruko asked cautiously, trying to make sense of the situation. Wrong. Yami Naruko responded, his eyes narrowing as he spoke. I'm the real you. The true self you've buried deep inside your heart. Naruko's eyes widened in shock. No. That's not true. I'm the real me. You're just a part of me that I'm the truth inside you, Yami Naruko interrupted, his voice cold and firm. The hatred you carry, the darkness you try to hide. No. I am not you. Naruko retorted, her voice full of defiance. You're just the side of me that I've been running from, she shouted, her determination rising. Yami Naruko only smiled, a dark glimmer in his eyes, before charging toward her, ready for a confrontation. Naruko braced herself, determined to face this challenge head-on. The two engaged in a fierce battle of taijutsu, their bodies moving with the fluidity of trained warriors. Naruko blocked a swift punch from her dark counterpart, her resolve firm. You're not me. I am the real Naruko, she yelled, pushing herself to the limit. The battle between them continued, a clash of wills in the deepest corners of Naruko's mind. Hinata gazed intently at her sister, Naruko, her expression filled with concern as she watched Naruko's unmoving face. The third Hokage and Danzo were still deep in discussion about important matters, leaving Hinata to keep a quiet vigil beside Naruko. Her thoughts were interrupted when Naruko's face suddenly shifted from calm to one of pain and determination. What's happening? Hinata wondered, unsure of what she was witnessing. Inside Naruko's mind, both Naruko and her inner shadow self, Yami Naruko, lay on the ground, exhausted and breathing heavily. Naruko, her voice strained, muttered, she's just as strong as me. If we keep this up, it'll never end. As both Narukos struggled to rise, Yami Naruko smirked and taunted, you can't defeat me. It's impossible. Naruko retorted, then I'll beat you with numbers. She summoned clones, hundreds of them appearing in an instant. However, Yami Naruko only smiled and mirrored the action, creating her own army of clones. Naruko's eyes widened in surprise. What? Kazuni was right. She's truly me, Naruko thought, realizing the gravity of the situation. Naruko spoke aloud, the number of clones is the same. Yami Naruko nodded, still smirking, you're catching on. Hours later, both Naruko and Yami Naruko lay exhausted, their bodies sprawled out on the ground. Yami Naruko slowly stood up, a smirk still playing on her lips. Nothing's going to change. You can't beat me. Naruko, still gasping for breath, had tried every strategy she knew, but nothing worked. Yami Naruko was her equal. Neither stronger nor weaker than Naruko, but an exact match. As Naruko pondered, a thought suddenly struck her. There's no way to overpower her. She's me. But. Naruko looked up, determination lighting her eyes. Since I can't beat you. Then you must already know, right? Yami Naruko, for once, was caught off guard, confusion replacing her usual smirk. What? Naruko closed her eyes and then opened them to reveal a massive image in her mind, an image of the Hidden Leaf Village. I want to protect this village, she declared firmly. Yami Naruko sneered, her voice filled with anger. Who cares about them? They're the ones WHO abandoned US. Made US outcasts. Yami Naruko gripped her chest as she continued, her voice rising. IT hurt, didn't IT? We've been treated like nothing. They can't be trusted. But Naruko didn't flinch. She spoke calmly but with deep conviction, the villagers are important, but there's someone else I need to believe in first. Yami Naruko raised an eyebrow in confusion, her anger momentarily subdued. Who? I need to believe in myself, Naruko said, her voice growing stronger. I need to show them I'm someone they can be proud of. Yami Naruko stood frozen, wide-eyed and silent. After a moment, she collapsed to her knees, her head hung low, her laughter hollow. Ha ha ha. They hurt us so much. Why? Naruko, her voice steady but full of compassion, spoke. It wasn't the villagers. It was the third Hokage. And all the other Hokages. They all share the will of fire. A burning desire to protect those they love. She paused, then continued, and those Hokages? They all had faith in themselves. They never gave up, no matter the hardships. Yami Naruko's anger flared up again, her voice rising. So what? What does that make me? Just a barrier in your way? Naruko remained calm, her gaze unwavering. Because of what you've shown me, I've become stronger. Yami Naruko's fists clenched, and with a roar of frustration, she lunged forward, ready to strike. But just before the punch could land, Naruko effortlessly dodged and wrapped her arms around her counterpart, pulling her into an embrace. Be like me, Naruko whispered, because you are me. Yami Naruko, utterly stunned, fell silent. Her eyes widened as she absorbed Naruko's words and actions. Slowly, the light began to return to her eyes, and she smiled. Thank you for showing me the light. With that, Yami Naruko's form began to glow brightly before slowly fading away. Hinata watched with a smile as Naruko's face softened, a smile gracing her features. It wasn't just Hinata who noticed this change. Hinako, standing nearby, also smiled with pride, watching Naruko pass the test. You did it. Naruko, Hinako thought, feeling a deep sense of admiration. You've truly become amazing. As Naruko watched the once sewer-like landscape transform into a serene meadow, images of her loved ones, her mother, father, and Kazuni, appeared before her. They smiled, their pride unmistakable. Well done, Naruko. You've managed to defeat me. We are so proud of you, Naruko. Keep going. You've made us so proud, Kit. The images faded, and Naruko couldn't help but smile, a single tear falling down her cheek. Well done. I've passed this test. Now, my final test awaits. It's a great danger, the regal demon finally spoke. And? Tokiko questioned, her eyebrow raised in suspicion. It's not just someone after her. They have come, the demon said, speaking casually. Who exactly are you referring to? Ex sinis cineris adviho ever tu quod inconcessus, the demon said, bowing its head. Out of the ashes come the demons and the forbidden. Naruko stood patiently, awaiting her next task. She was already quite tired from the various trials she had faced alone. As she waited, the taskmaster spoke, your next trial shall be one of your soul. Then, just as suddenly as the dark voice spoke, it disappeared, leaving Naruko standing in silence. Hinata continued kneeling in front of her beloved Naruko-chan, and it had already been quite a long time since she had been sitting there. Still, no progress had been made, and her beloved was in a state that resembled a coma. The third Hokage and his advisor had already spoken to her about the trial and what had happened to Naruko, but she still couldn't fully understand it. Ni-chan has always been so kind. How could I not have seen it before? Hinako watched attentively as Naruko prepared for her final trial. The last trial. To test one's willpower and strength of spirit. The final trial. A dark figure materialized, and it was clear that the being was not human. It wore a cloak made of what appeared to be raven feathers, and it seemed as if the cloak was made up of multiple layers, thick and protective. The figure also wore a hood, and only glowing red eyes could be seen from underneath, giving the figure an eerie and mysterious appearance. The figure held a black staff in one hand and wore black gloves. The figure slowly approached the stunned Naruko and spoke in a deep voice, one filled with power, hello, child. I will be giving you your final trial. Are you prepared? At first, Naruko sputtered in surprise, but she quickly gathered herself and responded with determination in her eyes, yes, I'm ready. The figure bowed its head for a moment, and Naruko could have sworn it. Smirked. Am I being mocked? The figure lifted its head, and Naruko's heart skipped a beat when she suddenly felt a pull as though her soul was being drawn out. The taskmaster smirked, as if reading her thoughts, and addressed her unspoken question, yes, I am taking your soul. And yes, this is your test. Naruko let out a pain-filled cry. Tokiko pondered as she walked the path toward the human realm, no demons attacking her this time. What do I need to do to help my master? In a flash of light, she vanished. Why you're enjoying TTH is, aren't you? Naruko winced in pain as the taskmaster tightened his grip. I'm surprised you have managed to survive this long, child. The taskmaster smirked, though it wasn't visible beneath his hood. Naruko gritted her teeth in pain. But I doubt you will last much longer. Naruko gritted her teeth, recalling Hinako's words. Within yourself, you hold the power of a great angel. If you embrace your gift, you will never be defeated. Naruko closed her eyes, focusing deeply to bring forth her hidden strength. Hinata gasped as Naruko's body began to glow with a pure, radiant white light. The Hokage and the Elder, upon seeing this, gasped too but quickly took action. The Hokage created a privacy jutsu to shield them from unwanted attention, while the Elder closed the windows and blinds. Yes, there are blinds in this fantasy world. The Hokage had already dismissed the Anbu members who had been monitoring the situation and placed Naruko's limp body on the floor. Now, it was just Hinata, the Hokage, the Elder, and Naruko. And then something incredible happened. Naruko's wings appeared. The taskmaster looked on in disbelief as Naruko began to push away his hand, using her own willpower. She must finally be embracing her gift. Maybe she'll pass. Angel. With a determined shout, Naruko summoned her strength and managed to push the taskmaster's hand away with nothing but sheer willpower. This action sent the taskmaster stumbling backward, though only a short distance. The taskmaster finally removed his hood, revealing the face of none other than her father, the fourth Hokage. Hello. Daughter. Hokage-sama, what's happening to Naruko? Hinata asked, concern evident in her voice. After checking Naruko's vitals, the Hokage sighed in relief and said in his wise, calm voice, Naruko will be fine. It seems she's merely experiencing the effects of her trial. How much longer until she wakes up? Hinata asked quietly, her voice full of worry. I do not know, Hinata. But all we can do is hope she will make it through. The Hokage's face was grim as he said this. The elder nodded in agreement, offering Hinata some comfort. Naruko is very strong. She will get through this. Hinata smiled faintly, but what happened next took her by surprise. Naruko's mouth dropped open in shock when she saw her father. Before she could react, he vanished in a blur of yellow and was standing right in front of her. Why so surprised, daughter? Naruko fell backward, but her father caught her gently around the waist. She flushed a deep red, embarrassed by the sudden closeness, though it wasn't what it seemed. Dad, Naruko exclaimed, throwing her arms around her father in a warm hug. However, a moment later, Naruko pulled away and punched him lightly in the chest. Why didn't you tell me? Minato scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Sorry, but it's customary for the father to administer the test. When that happens, the father has to be very serious. But I wanted to have a little fun with you. What? Why did you say serious then? Naruko shouted, trying to punch him in anger, but Minato skillfully dodged each punch. You're still too young to try that, daughter, Minato chuckled. Minato disappeared again, reappearing behind Naruko with a grin. She tried to punch him again, but he vanished once more, making her fume in frustration. Naruko finally stopped and pouted, and when her father caught her again, she smiled, I did it, Dad. Minato ruffled her hair affectionately, yeah, you did. His expression turned serious as he continued, I'm very proud of you, for passing all your trials. Your first trial, known as the Expertus de Ego, test of self, made you face yourself. Your greatest enemy is often within. Always remember that. Naruko nodded, acknowledging her father's words. The second trial, Expertus de Vires, test of strength, forced you to face a family member, to fight with all your strength. And you overcame it. Naruko smiled as she remembered the fight with her mother, a victory she had never expected. The third trial, Expertus de Obscurum, test of darkness, was about accepting every part of yourself. No one is perfect, but you must embrace both your light and your darkness, for they are both parts of you. And the final trial, Expertus de Mos Quod Phasmatus, test of will and spirit, tested your fighting spirit. Your physical strength isn't enough if your will isn't strong. Those with weak wills cannot survive this harsh world. Minato's face grew serious. I'm proud of you for completing your trials. But there is one more thing. Because of the great power you've unlocked, you will no longer be able to use your chakra. Naruko's eyes widened in shock. Why you mean? Minato nodded somberly. Your chakra pathways will cease to exist. Dear YouTube family. It's with a bittersweet feeling that I announce the end of this fanfic series. What a journey it's been. From the first chapter to the very last, your unwavering support, your comments, your likes, and shares have made every step of this adventure more meaningful than I could have ever imagined. Every word, every twist, every turn of the plot was written with you in mind. You've been with me every step of the way, and for that, I'll always be grateful. This series may have come to its conclusion, but remember, this is only the beginning of more stories and content to come. There's so much more in store on this channel, and I can't wait to share it all with you. If you've enjoyed this journey, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, so we can continue growing this amazing community together. Your support means the world to me, and I can't thank you enough for being part of this adventure. Thank you for your time, your energy, and your passion. You truly make all the difference. Until next time, stay awesome. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.